Hello there from the cockpit of the 2016 Volvo XC60 T5. My name is Bill Siotori and today I've been tasked to tell you more about this car. So I'm going to tell you very many things, bad and good things about this 2016 Volvo XC60 T5. So get your popcorns ready, and if you've been looking for a Volvo XC60 review, you are on the right channel. So I am actually going to tell you a lot of things about this car. So hang around until the end of this video, because this review is going to answer all your motoring questions regarding this Volvo XC60 and possibly how it stacks up against the competition in this segment. So actually, if you are new on this channel, you can actually consider subscribing to this channel, because we normally do car videos like this and we also help clients source clean cars. So if you want to purchase a car, you can actually ring us on the number below. We are actually going to make your car ownership journey easy. Basically, we source clean cars, we inspect them, and then your car ownership journey becomes easy. That is the goal of 0 to 60 motoring. All right, here we go. 2016 Volvo XC60 T5 review. So what exactly is the Volvo XC60? Now, Volvo XC60 is a mid-size crossover which actually production started back in 2008. Actually, these are 2016 model, but then it still falls under the first generation Volvo XC60. It's only that there have been a few tweaks in terms of design here and there and mechanicals, but it still falls under the first generation Volvo XC60. There is a second generation Volvo XC60 that started production, I think, in 2017. Which actually has polarizing looks, and that car actually is a stunner, and actually, let me say, it can actually break necks and turn eyes. Now, in this class, actually, there are a gazillion of competitors, because there are actually like 21 cars. In the morning when I was preparing to shoot the review of this car, actually I counted like 21 cars in traffic. But then, the true rivals to this car include the Audi Q5, the BMW X3, the Mercedes-Benz GLC. When you're looking at the size, you can also say something like the Range Rover Evoque, and actually from the Japanese market, it actually has to be something like the Lexus NX, that is the 200T, or even the 300H. Actually, even when you're looking at the price tag of this car, this is actually a fully loaded trim at around 4 million shillings. Now, when you're looking at the 4 million shilling mark, cars that you can get at that price tag include the aforementioned cars, and actually you can actually throw in maybe the Toyota Harrier, that is the GS variant. Actually, for the last like 1 month, I cannot keep up with the number of requests I've received to compare this car, the Volvo XC60 versus the Toyota Harrier. I think maybe people are trying to compare them based on the price tag, which is not a bad thing, but when you put this car side by side with the Toyota Harrier, and then you see what the two cars offer, let me say, one of them will actually beat the other pants down. Let me take you quickly through the engine options. Now, if you are purchasing a 2016 Volvo XC60, there are actually 3 engine flavors to pick from. At the entry level of the base, there is a 2000cc turbo diesel, and then after that you have a 2000cc turbocharged petrol, and that is the car I'm driving. And then the top of the range, something that's gonna blow your hair away, something that is gonna set your world on fire, is a 3000cc turbocharged petrol that is actually offered in the T6 flavor. Now, this 2000cc petrol engine is actually married to an 8-speed gearbox, which actually sends drive to all the 4 wheels of this car, because this is an all-wheel drive variant. Actually, there is no reason why you should be purchasing a front-wheel drive Volvo XC60, because I feel like a crossover that is 2-wheel drive does not have the right ingredients to be called a crossover. Anyway, that is my opinion. So, how does the Volvo XC60 drive? The driving position of this car, considering that it's somewhat elevated and the front somewhat slants down, it's actually perfect. You actually have very good visibility of the road ahead of you. And then this car doesn't feel like that it's slow, because the output of this 2.0 turbocharged petrol is around 240 brake horsepower and a healthy 350 Newton meters of torque. I actually drove the earlier versions of this Volvo XC60, which used to have a 6-speed automatic gearbox, and that car was actually a front-wheel drive variant, and actually I did not like it because I felt like the 6-speed there, the car does not have any communication. The marriage between that engine to the gearbox was actually not that rosy. But for this 2000cc petrol engine with the 8-speed automatic gearbox, I feel like it's a match made in heaven, because this car will actually be at the right gear at the right time when you need it. Actually, it makes these paddle shifters a little bit useless. I actually don't need to use them. When you are seated on this driving seat, it's actually very comfortable. It's actually sure-footed, and the car feels like it's actually bolted on the road very well. You don't feel like you're going to get out of the road, especially when it starts to gather speeds. But there are actually downsides on how this Volvo XC60 drives. Now, I feel like this steering wheel is actually very heavy for my liking, and then the steering wheel lacks that driver response. There is that chemistry that it lacks, especially now when I'm comparing this car to something like the BMW X3 or even the Audi Q5. I feel like this car actually lacks the agility, or let me say the nimbleness. It's not a sports car, of course, per se, but that is a big trade-off that cannot make me pick this car over the Audi Q5 or even the BMW X3. Actually, I even feel like the Lexus NX, that is the 200T, has a better driver feel. And actually, that is my opinion. But then, in most cases, not many people are going to realize that. It's only car enthusiasts who are going to realize that. There is a slow Subaru Forester ahead of me, but then when I get to overtake it, I'm going to stretch this car, and then we'll be able to tell how does the 0 to 60, how does the 0 to 100 kilometers per hour of this car look like, because this is 0 to 60 motoring. So don't get me wrong, the Volvo XC60 is decently powered, it's comfortable, and actually not many people are going to realize its driving flaws. It only needs someone who is actually a car enthusiast to actually realize that it lacks that agility, something we'll be expecting from a premium European crossover. So it is actually, it's not a sports car, so that flaw may not be a deal breaker from my standpoint. So because this is 0 to 60 motoring, we want to test the acceleration of this car from a standstill to 100 kilometers per hour. How does it look like? 240 brake horsepower, 350 Newton meters of torque. Kill the AC, throw the car into sports mode. Let's find out. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right, that is 40, 60, 80. That's 100. So how does this car look like when it comes to the design element? When you're looking at the body design of this car, it looks somewhat slanting from the rear side to the front. Actually, that will have an impact on how the sitting position inside the car looks like, but I'll be getting into that later. On this face, you have this Volvo emblem here, which actually has a blue, but this is not a hybrid car. You have this grill here, which actually looks, let me say, somewhat manly. The headlamps here are actually looking pretty good. You have these lights here, which actually these are like the fog lights here, and when you're looking at this face, let me say it's somewhat minimalist, and there is not much, of course, to talk about this car when it comes to the face design. Coming to the side profile of this car, you can actually see that it comes with these these are actually 19-inch alloy wheels, and then you have these chrome finishes here. You can see that the slanting now, the chrome finishes actually can tell you how this car slants from the rear side to the front one. On this rear side, you can actually tell that there's not much here. You can actually see these X60 badge here. You can actually see these T5 here classic AWD, of course, to tell you that this is an all-wheel drive car. You have these tail light here, which actually start on this roof here from this spoiler to the side here, and that is, I think that is that is all it takes. That is all about the design of this car when it comes to the looks. Of course, it's a premium car, but I'll not say that it has the best looks in the segment. Now, welcome to the cockpit of this Volvo XC60, and as you can actually tell, it has this European shape, like our European quality, because when you're looking at the execution of this interior, this is actually a 7-year-old car, but you can see that it has managed actually to maintain a minimal wear and tear, because everything here actually inside here looks pretty new and it's actually functioning pretty well. Okay, this car has 32,000 kilometers on the clock, meaning it has not been used that much. The floating center console here actually has a gazillion of buttons, but then with time, there may be many, but with time you'll actually get used to them, because here you have the volume control button, you have the climate control buttons, and then there are a gazillion of buttons here, of course, but you are actually going to get used to them. And then the seats actually here are actually pretty comfortable, and then they are actually electronically adjusted, meaning actually you'll be having a pretty easy time finding your driving position. The fit and finish in this car is actually pretty good. You can actually tell that it's actually pretty European. Look at this cabin here, the quality of finishes here. You have this wood finish on this floating center console here. You have these paddle shifters behind the steering wheel. Of course, this car is has an automatic gearbox, but at time you may want to pretend that you are in a manual transmission car. Because actually this is a high trim car, you actually have this panoramic sunroof, can actually open it that way to make your cabin more lit and more lively. It's a feature I actually like in cars, but then sometimes it can be problematic, because in the morning it actually refused to close and it was actually about to rain, something which can actually be very scary. At this point, most probably you want to know, how does the fuel consumption or fuel economy of this Volvo XC60 T5 2.0 AWD look like? Now, petrol Volvos are actually, let me say, somewhat thirsty compared to the diesel variants. Actually, if you want good fuel economy, impressive fuel figures, get the diesel variant. That's the 2.0 turbo diesel. For this one, the T5, actually I've stayed with this car for 1 month now. I've been actually getting like 9.5 kilometers per liter. Now it may not be that big considering cars like the Subaru Forester are actually doing that, but then the figure can actually get crazy, especially when you're driving actually under sports mode. So if you cannot live with a 9.5 kilometers per liter, you actually better get the diesel variant. So how does the Volvo XC60 look like when it comes to reliability? Now, when you're purchasing the Volvo XC60, it may not be the most reliable car outside there, but then if you find something with a low mileage and then you treat it well, of course you're going to keep out of problems for quite some time. Now, the other day I went with this car to the village, and actually it threw in a bunch of warning lights on the dashboard, but then it was an easy fix. Upon fixing the diagnostic machine, I was able to diagnose the problem and then fix it, because I realized that not even the village mechanics understand this car. You actually have to introduce this car to them. Now, when you're looking at this 2.0 liter turbocharged petrol engine, the most common issue that actually is going to come about is that the breather will actually sometimes be problematic. Sometimes there may be problems with the oil leaks. I think that is all that is going to come about. But then when those problems kick in, if you've not given your Volvo XC60 some good treatment, it can actually is going to actually cause some serious financial issues, or let me say a financial coma, because this is not a cheap car to fix. We have to be honest about that. The parts for this car are actually pretty expensive, and then even simple parts, it's not a car that you're going to find its part, especially in the village. For example, if you're living somewhere in remote, you have to source its parts from the major towns. So I think that could be the main downside of this car. But then these days, people can actually even ship parts from Dubai. So I don't think that you're going to have a problem getting parts from this car, unless and otherwise you need them urgently, so that you cannot even wait for 1 or 2 days. So my overall judgment of this car when it comes to reliability, give it the right treatment and it's going to treat you well. If you treat it abnormally, of course it's also going to treat you abnormal, and it's going to cause some serious financial dents. That is my honest analysis about this car, and maybe that is the only reason why you should leave this car and then go for the Toyota Harrier. On that reliability element, and maybe the cost of ownership when it comes to maintenance of mechanical components only. Otherwise, it's a very good ride on the road. You've seen how it handles. Of course, It's pretty powerful, it's comfortable, it delivers power pretty well, it feels solid. But then when it breaks down, it's not going to be an easy car to fix, or even it's not going to be easy on your pockets. You need to have deep pockets to run it. If you want something that is not going to become problematic, you may trick your budget a little bit and get into something like the Lexus NX 200T or the hybrid flavor, the 300H. That car is more reliable than this Volvo XC60. How about accommodation in this 2016 Volvo XC60? Now, the drivers, of course, and front occupants in this car will not have a problem, because you have plenty of adjustment when you are utilizing these electric seats. The knee room is actually pretty good. The headroom may not be that good because this car has a sunroof, but then average, I don't think there are very many people who are going to struggle. Of course, if the headroom is somewhat limited, of course you can adjust the seat to a lower level, and then these seats actually have memory settings for 3 people. So if you are a family utilizing this car, of course, when you hop into the car, you will not have a problem locating your driving position. Now let me try to find my driving position and then check how the rear seats look like when it comes to the accommodation element. The second row seats, actually they are a little bit raised compared to the front seats, meaning people behind here will actually be reading all the information in the front there, especially on the infotainment screen on the center console. So meaning you can actually have a pretty good meeting. And then for this middle seat here, of course, you have 2 cup holders here, of course, for your drinks. So when I'm looking at the accommodation of this car when it comes to the spacing element, I feel like it's actually a very good car when it comes to accommodation. Of course, for this middle seat, it's not going to be that good, especially over long distance travel, because this is actually an all-wheel drive car. So there is a drive shaft down here. That's why actually this middle seat is somewhat raised, and actually it will be better suited for kids. How about the trunk space? So how does the Volvo XC60 fare on in terms of the spacing element? This car actually being a fully loaded spec, it actually comes with an electronic tailgate. So you're gonna press it this way, and then it's going to open up to some level, of course. Now this is the amount of room you have in this car, but it's still as accommodative as someone will need. I don't think that you're gonna find this car not that practical, because the amount of room here is actually pretty good. And then down here you actually have more room. Of course, you can actually organize your stuff down here. So when it comes to the accommodation element, I feel like the Volvo XC60 is actually going to hit your sweet spot if you're looking for something that is a little bit spacious. Volvos are known for their impressive safety rating. Actually, this is a Volvo XC60. It's among the safest cars in this segment. Basically, this is a Volvo XC60. In its design, the manufacturer actually designed, let me say, a roll cage that is bolted into the body of this car, of course, to protect the occupants of this car, especially when this car rolls. And then when you are looking at in terms of technology, this car actually comes with something they call City Safe. So basically, City Safe it works through sensors that are actually on this dashboard and others on this on the front grille. The car can be able to brake itself automatically as long as you are doing speeds below 30 kilometers per hour. And then this car comes with driver assistant features, something like a blind spot monitoring, a lane departure warning. It can actually sense things, drowsiness, and it has a collision mitigation system. Those are actually some of the ingredients that make Volvo safe. So when you are purchasing a Volvo XC60, perhaps you have heard about its impressive safety rating. So should you buy the Volvo XC60? From my standpoint, there is no reason absolutely why you should not buy the Volvo XC60 if your priority is something that is premium, safe, and let me say something that is comfortable. But if you value driving dynamics, the BMW X3 will hit your sweet spot. If you mind something that is agile, let me say something like the Audi Q5 will actually tickle your fancy. If you want something that is a little bit more premium and it's actually more reliable, the Mercedes-Benz GLC will actually be a better pick. And actually, if you want something that is a, let me say, you can actually trade off something that is it is a Japanese but still reliable and then falls in this class, the Lexus NX can actually be something you can actually consider. Those people who are comparing the Toyota Harrier with the Volvo X60, I don't think there is it will actually be an unfair comparison if I start comparing the two cars, because the only element whereby the Toyota Harrier beats this Volvo XC60 maybe it's on reliability. Otherwise, on all other elements, the Volvo XC60 actually beats the Toyota Harrier pants down. Now, when you're looking at the price tag of this car, which is actually around 3.8 to 4.2 million shillings, I feel like this is a lot of car for the money, because the Audi Q5, the S-Line, with all these bells and whistles you are seeing here, will actually costing around 4.5 million shillings. The Mercedes-Benz GLC will actually also be very expensive. The price tag is actually in the north of 5 million shillings. The Lexus NX, the price tag is also the north of 5 million shillings. And the BMW is actually around 4.5 million shillings. So, and even the Range Rover Evoque is actually around 6 million shillings. So when I'm looking at this car versus what it offers and the price tag and the competition, I feel like it is a lot of car for that money. So if you want something premium that doesn't feel slow, it's safe, it's comfortable, the Volvo XC60 should actually be on your priority list. So I think this review has given you a little bit of insights about how this car competes with the rivals, how it handles on the road, the reliability, reputation, power ratings, fuel economy, whether it's value for money. So if you find this review helpful, kindly consider subscribing to this channel. And if you want to purchase a Volvo XC60, its rivals, that is the Peugeot 3008, the Audi Q5, the Porsche Macan, the BMW X3, the Volkswagen Tiguan, and maybe the Lexus NX series, you can actually hit us and we can actually source a clean car, inspect it such that it meets your expectations. You are going to find a comprehensive written review of this channel, of this car, on our Facebook page and on our website that we are launching soon. All right, guys, see you on the next one on 0 to 60 Motoring.